All right, I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order and read the legal blurb that we have to read. This meeting is being held pursuant to and in compliance with emergency ordinance number 20-A16, an emergency ordinance to ensure continuity of government during the COVID-19 disaster. Committee members who are electronically present at this meeting are Virginia Newton, Tony Pagnuccio, James Dean, and Bill McLaughlin. The persons responsible for receiving public comment are the Places29 North Committee, Community Advisory Committee. Opportunities for the public to access and participate in the electronic meeting are posted on the Albemarle county calendar. If the chat is disabled, you just have to raise your hand. Well, there's only five of us and Corey. Hey, Corey, welcome. So I don't think we need to disable the chat. What do you think, Michaela?
The written chat is already disabled as a setting here, but I think you're right that we don't need to.
I don't think we need to worry about raising hands. Yeah. Okay. County staff who are also present at the meeting are Michaela Carty. Got Corey. Oh, let me just make a note of who's here. Okay. All right. Okay. Has everybody read the minutes that I sent out yesterday? Anybody have any?
So,
ahead, Tony.
Bill, were those minutes, maybe I'm wrong, I thought they were from November. Is that the correct?
No, we didn't have a meeting in November because it was Veterans Day.
Okay. I thought the date, maybe I'm confused with something else. I thought the date on those minutes was kind of a past date. Maybe I'm wrong.
I'm trying to open them now to see if I can cross-check the date.
I thought the December meeting was the community read event.
The December meeting was the community read.
Okay.
November, we didn't have a meeting because of Veterans Day. And I made a note of that at the end of the minutes. I didn't know if that was the right place to put it, but I figured it needed to be recorded someplace.
Okay.
It should have been October 14th. Is that correct?
Well, meeting on October 14th and the November 11th was canceled because of Veterans Day.
Okay.
And then in the community read event was, I'm looking for the date on that. I believe it was in late November, but
It was December 9th, I believe.
Mhm.
December 9th, the same date as your normal meeting.
Right. Sorry. Oh, by the way, Michaela, let me bring it up here on my machine. On the web page for the Places29, it has frequency and times of meetings as the third Thursday of each month at 6 p.m. at the Hollymead Fire Station, unless otherwise noted. So since we're generally meeting on the second Thursday, maybe we could see if whoever does that website could change that to the second Thursday.
Yes, I'll ask.
And 6:30.
Yes, I can
Unless
follow up with
everybody,
our web editors.
okay. Yeah, I know that's not, your responsibility, but we'll see if we can get that.
No, thank you for flagging that. Carolyn can fix
Yeah.
that. So she mentioned she can do that. She just told me.
Okay. All right, any objections to the minutes? Okay, all in favor, somebody needs to make a motion to approve the minutes.
I make it.
Okay,
Second,
Virginia, and second, all in favor of approving the minutes, just say aye, raise your hand.
Aye.
Okay, we're good. Okay, the first item on the agenda is the middle density residential questions and discussions. And that is Michaela's. Did everybody kind of look at the video? I think that Michaela, the only thing we're doing now is basically asking questions. So
Sure. I wanted to check in if you all want me to play the video. I do have it available if anyone didn't get a chance to. Otherwise, we can jump into questions or your discussion.
okay, doesn't look like anybody needs to have a video played. So Virginia, did you have any questions on the middle density presentation that they gave?
No, I just wanted to clarify, it's new to the county based on Crozet as of June of last year, is that correct?
A little bit later last year, it was
Okay.
adopted in October,
Okay,
but it was drafted with the intent of applying in other locations in the county.
okay,
Not that there are predetermined locations, but when we were drafting a new land use category, we brought it to the Planning Commission as a concept and asked if it would have applications to the county more broadly. And Crozet is the first master plan that's been updated with that land use category in it.
okay. I just wanted to make sure I got my timeline right. No, it makes sense to me. Yep.
Tony,
no, I have no questions.
Jimmy,
No questions.
Corey, do you have any comments on it at all that you might want to make for us?
Not terribly much. I'll just share that when we talked about it in the planning commission for Crozet, as Michaela had just mentioned, we had a robust discussion around it, and particularly as it could maybe transition from, in between high density to a lower density area. So that was a lot of our discussion on that. And Crozet was the first choice that we had the opportunity to review this. And so, Michaela, do you want to add anything else?
I think that's a great summary and way to share some of our rationale. We also, in doing the Crozet master plan update, heard about the importance of affordability in the area and scale with the existing neighborhoods, especially around downtown. There are some older homes that people really enjoyed the architecture and felt that really created a sense of place. So the middle density residential category offered an opportunity to transition, as Corey mentioned, between the existing categories that the county already has. So I'm happy to answer more questions, but I think the video and the presentation that Tori gave did a really provided a good summary of it.
Okay. I presume that you got the questions that I sent you earlier, Michaela, and you don't have to, I'm going to go ahead and read them off, but you don't necessarily have to answer them. They may not be answerable at this time. Hopefully the first one is in the primary uses slide, they use the term flex, and I'm not exactly sure what that means as far as primary use.
It's a good question. We have this group of uses that's light industrial / research and development / flex, and I think I'm missing one other, but it's meant to encapsulate all of those uses that especially right now have a growing industry that's changing a lot. And so flex is meant to capture maybe something that didn't exist in the past or in the present when we're adopting a master plan, or a use that doesn't cleanly fit into one category specifically. So that's a good question, and hopefully I answered.
Okay, yeah, I understand. Yeah, you're right. Industry and commerce is changing so rapidly that, it's hard to, say, maybe hard to figure out what's the difference between light industrial and commercial or whatever. Okay. The next question I had is, I was looking at the slides where they're talking about the differences between zoning and land use categories. And it seemed to me like there's not conflict, but difference there. And I was wondering if the county, maybe as part of the comprehensive plan, was going to try and align them better, because it mentioned somewhere where the zoning doesn't fit the land use, or the land use doesn't fit the zoning, and or possibly even merge them into county code. Because it seemed like the land use, it mentioned that it was a recommendation and not county code. So how much muscle is behind the land use designation if it's not in some way incorporated into zoning? And I don't know if you can answer that off the top of your head or not,
Do my best. So your question is whether there are plans to align land use and zoning, and then how much standing, or what is the role of land use? Is that a second question?
Or, I mean, is there any way we can make our land use designations, I guess, more enforceable, in some way incorporate them into the zoning laws, or,
Mhm. Well, currently, county staff have been talking with the Board of Supervisors through work sessions about a phased comprehensive plan and zoning update. And so right now, the way that that is scoped is that there's initial work that's beginning on the zoning ordinance, but the comprehensive plan would do community engagement and address future land use before any zoning updates would happen. So there could be an opportunity, certainly, to align those things. But there are two separate processes, and there would be community engagement, and opportunities for input on the comprehensive plan, as well as the zoning ordinance. Typically, the way that localities do update these, both the recommendations and the law, is by doing a comprehensive plan first, and then updating their local ordinances. So that is possible. I can't say whether that will happen or not. That's definitely a big question, but that is the way that there is a process that could happen.
Yeah, okay, so that kind of makes sense. Yeah, work on the land use, and then perhaps realign the zoning, and then, we're not restricted, like the county can create its own zones, right? They don't have to be defined the way they are now. Okay, so
Correct.
we could define a mixed use zone as an example.
Yes, because currently the maximum density that is allowed in the zoning ordinance is 35 units an acre. So that's something that is local to Albemarle County, but certainly not. There are plenty of places we know of that go higher than that, or additional zoning districts that don't exist. Yes.
Well, there was a couple of slides that pointed out the limitations of density. So my question that it leads me to is, does density necessarily have to be part of zoning?
That is a good question. The new form-based code that the county adopted for the area around Brio Road and Route 29 does not have density numbers in those zoning districts. It has specific form requirements, but no, that's not a requirement as far as I know, because we would not have been able to adopt that ordinance. And if Corey, if there's any moment that you want to jump in on anything from your perspective, feel free.
No, that's fine. Yeah, if anybody else has any comments on my questions, go ahead, just speak up. Yeah, okay, that kind of makes sense. Okay, so, I think like what the slides were pointing out about the limitations of density kind of leads you into a more form-based code approach. Okay. And the next question I had was, I was thinking if a parcel matches the zoning level for a planned development or building or whatever, but it doesn't match the land use plan for that particular parcel. I guess the county, does the county have any recourse in terms of, amending or maybe not allowing that project or that building or that complex?
If someone develops according to all of the regulations in the zoning ordinance that their parcel is zoned for, there's not, the county doesn't have jurisdiction to change that. Staff reviews it to make sure it's consistent with all of those regulations, but
But it doesn't necessarily have to comply with the land use plan
that's correct.
currently. Okay. No, that's simple no, right? And the next question is the middle density land use plan looks like it provides little, if any, personal recreation space. Backyard, okay? Does the county plan to compensate for this with playgrounds or nearby parks? A little background, I grew up in what you would call a middle density land use plan area. I grew up in a semi-detached house on a block where every other house was semi-detached. There were 2 parks and a staff playground within 5 or 6 blocks of my house. And when I look at the GIS map and the county plans, I just don't see anything like that. And if which maybe you don't need quite as much if you live in a single family home with a ½ acre of ground, or even in a development like Forest Lakes or Hollymead, where the developer or the citizens association provides those things. But I guess my concern here is that if you have all these quad houses and semi-detached houses and high density, where do the children of those in those houses, where did they go? Did they have a playground? Do they have a park they can go to? So it seems to me like, I know you can't answer this. It seems to me like that if the county is going to go ahead with this in a large scale, I would think the burden falls on them or somebody to provide some recreational facilities for the people that are living there. I guess that's more of a comment than a question. So, you don't have to address that. It's not not in your bailiwick, I think.
Yes, I'll only offer that in the case of Crozet, one of the middle density parcels or series of parcels was located or is located close to downtown and close to Crozet Park. So that's an example of series of parcels that there would be access to green space, and I would agree with you, Bill, that access to green space and recreation is important for all of us. But I can't comment on at this point future.
Okay, so
deciding that.
So basically, the situation in Crozet is kind of, the fact that it's close to a park, but I guess the issue is if you start building a lot of these, then I think you have to allow for some parkland or recreation space. And in Albemarle, I think that has to be a little bit over and above just providing a woods with walking trails, because most of our parks in Albemarle basically are woods with walking trails. The ones that are, anyway. Okay. Okay,
And Bill, I might just add to that. I think it's a very good point. And I would say, as the county certainly reviews and updates various plans, whether it's small area or comprehensive plans, whatever it may be, I can probably assure you that the green space piece and having that from a sustainability feature, that remains a high priority. I know it's something we always look at whenever every proposal that comes before us. We make sure we have a discussion about that. So I'm pretty confident that will remain a very high priority with the county as they move forward.
okay, great, good. The sixth question, I was looking at the slide of the apartment building that they put forward as an example of middle density housing. And it just didn't look like a very pleasant living environment to me. There were no balconies or patios or anything to that. And that's just that particular picture. And it looked like an apartment complex with the dark stairwells. There weren't very many windows. And it seemed like one level of the apartment building was basically a basement level apartment. And I'm just hoping that when we start looking at these middle density projects, that we kind of expect a little more out of the architecture than the example that was shown in the slide. And I don't know if we can require that. I mean, for instance, do we have the authority to say, okay, if you build an apartment building, you have to have a balcony? Just for people to, be able to get outside of the little apartment. Or do we restrict the number of basement apartments and, require a certain amount of windows? I mean, I know this is all architectural review stuff, but I'm thinking, should we try to build that into the middle density land planning? And I don't think there's an answer to that either. It's just more of a comment than a question. Okay.
Bill, I have a question about your
Sure.
previous question. The recreational areas in these apartment buildings and complexes and subdivisions, is my understanding the areas that they provide are only for the residents of that area. Is that right?
In general, yes. Yeah. I mean, for instance, Forest Lakes, you have to be a Forest Lakes resident technically to use any of their fields or pools or, technically even the trails, but nobody enforces that. So yeah, I think there's a lack of public recreation area in the county, at least in the Places 29 North area, that people can actually walk to. And the other issue I think comes up, especially if you're talking about low to moderate income housing, is while the recreational areas, playgrounds, whatever might be provided, it's hard to insist that it's hard to have them kept up. There's a tendency to let them fall into disrepair. And that's a burden on the county to, keep after the landlords or whatever to keep up the recreational facilities. So, I mean, that's an issue I've seen in other areas, and I'm sure you all have. You see an apartment complex and the playground is basically pretty much in disrepair.
Bill, do you mind if I jump?
Sure, go ahead.
Quick? This is relevant to the last couple of questions. The Parks and Recreation Department, I would need to check on the year. It's been a couple of years since they've done a parks needs assessment, and urban parks was something that came up in that assessment that is a need for Albemarle County. We have, as you all are familiar with, some large recreational parks, and those are great assets for the community. But as you've noted, Albemarle is urbanizing, and there's a greater need now than in the past for urban and walkable green spaces. So the county is also acknowledging that too.
It's good. I mean, that's good to hear that they're kind of thinking about it. Okay. Okay. The only comment, the next question, that the housing choice slide mentions one of the advantages of this kind of land use plan is fewer vehicle miles. And I just feel like unless we have real bike lanes, as opposed to, painted, on the street saying, oh, this is a bike lane, And also in terms of the planning and approval, unless there are amenities close by to these middle density developments, that really doesn't impact the miles driven, If you still have to drive 5-6 miles to go to a grocery store or, a barber shop or a dentist or whatever. So we need to make sure that these are truly mixed use areas. Hey, Sue, I just noticed you're there. I will add you. Okay. And we're just going over the middle density land use plan that was presented. Does anybody have an idea, have any recollection of the nature of the feedback that this proposal got in Crozet? In terms of were the people in the community happy to have this new land use plan designation, or were, what kind of feedback did we get on that in Crozet?
We had a variety of feedback. I'll try to summarize as best I can on the fly, but again, the driving force for developing the concept was the desire for more affordability in the area. So there was feedback related to that and support for that reason. There were also concerns that we heard about the population increase that more homes and more density could bring to the area, and the infrastructure needs associated with that, such as schools and school capacity, road improvements. And again, Corey, if you want to add anything from public hearings or planning commission that I missed.
Yeah, off the cuff, I think you covered it. I was going to say the transportation improvements I remember coming up in the school piece. But I think just like any other proposal that comes before you, there's some who have concerns, there's some that are all for, and it's our job to try to build that consensus. But I think you covered it well. Thank you.
Okay. So, okay, so kind of the same concerns maybe that always would be expressed in terms of when maybe you're taking a zoning that's R1 residential and then, classifying it as one that would be permitting middle density land use. There would be concerns about density and infrastructure and so forth. And I realize it's hard to keep up with infrastructure, especially when everybody wants to move to Albemarle County. I was just wondering, we read a lot about these very small houses and in some cases very sustainable. Is there any consideration of including that type of structure in middle density land planning? I think if you look at house hunters are referred to as tiny houses, but there are some companies that develop very small houses and very small pieces of land, and I'm wondering if there was any consideration for including that in a middle density environment.
Yes, in the Crozet master plan, there's an appendix that has some images, very simple images of different housing types, and that's one of them. Though
Okay.
Typically tiny homes, I would need to check on our building code, but sometimes that can be what prohibits small homes from being built in localities, but that was considered.
Okay. I mean, I'm not a big fan of those, but I know that some people, some developers and companies have done some fairly decent plan work with them, especially in terms of sustainability. So you kind of overcome a little bit of the objection to single family homes. This is just really not a question. The last one is just a general comment, because there were so many slides about affordability, and one of them mentioned that the household survival budget for Albemarle is basically 75,000, and my comment was, well, why isn't our minimum wage at least half of that? So that a household with 2 earners would actually meet that sustainability threshold. And of course, I know that's not an issue that is addressable here. I just, I just felt like, affordability can be approached from 2 different angles. And one is the, improving people's income. So if people can afford a better house, then you don't have to worry so much about affordable housing. All right. Any other questions or comments on the middle density planning? Land use plan?
Nope.
All right, okay. So the next item on the agenda is the November Community Read event, reflections and discussion. I did, it was an interesting read. Does anybody else have any comments on that? On the video? I did look at the video. I didn't necessarily read the literature. But okay. The only thing it brought home to me was, and I brought this up before in terms of the comprehensive plan, that I'd like to see a pretty significant emphasis on getting low to moderate income families into housing that can build equity for them. That this is a problem that Black and brown people have had in the past, and it's preventing them from, in large part, building the kind of wealth that I was benefiting from. So I feel like this may not be an approach that provides immediate results, but long term, I think that the county's emphasis, or part of it, should be on, getting people into homes that they can build equity into, and pass that equity and that wealth on to their children and grandchildren. So that's just something that's in the back of my mind as far as the comprehensive plan goes, and that community read brought home to me anyway.
Well, Bill.
Right. Yeah, go ahead.
That's a good point. I think the county's partnership, I don't know if it's partnership, but with Southwood and Habitat for Humanity, that's an unbelievable undertaking that I thought was just a wonderful happening. And I think that speaks to what you're talking about. Now, I don't know how that can be replicated in the future, because Southwood was there.
Mm-hmm.
The homes, the mobile homes were kind of old, but I think that speaks to what you were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And that project is pretty hard to find fault with, or at least as much as I know about it.
Mm-hmm. Corey, do you know have you any input on that Southwood project?
Yeah, just as an architect, I'm actually really good friends with the architect who helped lead that process. And to me, I think it's like a national example, in my opinion, of how you can lead through like what I would call resident-led design, and bringing in that community to help shape their own future.
Mm-hmm.
So I know it from that aspect, but I was not part of the planning commission in terms of shepherding through the legislative process and so forth.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
As a citizen, I think it's an amazing project.
Okay. Anything else on the community read?
Well, couldn't the same idea as Southwood be replicated in other mobile home parks around the county? Is that feasible? I mean, we're talking long term here, but that's been going on a long time too.
Mm-hmm.
Bill, I know a little about the Southwood Initiative, mostly from the social service side, the
Mhm.
nonprofit side. I wouldn't mind having the Habitat for Humanity folks or someone from the county maybe give us a little update on not the, more the process and the procedures and the partnerships and the rules and regulations they had to bend or overlook or what they had to create new. Because if that is a process that could be replicated elsewhere, then that might be something we could recommend to the county. I mean, the mobile home park near Forest Lakes could have been that kind of an initiative.
Yeah, I can only think of one other mobile home park that may be in our area, and that's the one, near the airport, off of Town
Yes.
Center Drive.
Yes,
I think that's in our area. Is that correct,
Yeah.
Michaela?
I think so. I
Yeah,
need to like triple check on the boundary, but it's close.
yeah.
I will be surprised if there aren't some mobile home communities up 29 North. And between 29 North and 20.
Mhm.
Yeah, I would be surprised if there aren't some up that area.
Yeah, okay. I know that mobile home park off Town Center Drive is under new management. I don't know. Are there any plans for that you know of, Michaela? Are there any plans?
Interesting
All
to
right,
know who owns
finding
it.
my mute button. Not that I'm aware of, but that doesn't mean there isn't. I
It
would
isn't.
check on that.
Okay. Yeah, that might be something to kind of look into. Usually if there's new ownership, there are new plans. I mean, that particular mobile park, home park is, for a mobile home park, it's pretty well kept up. I'm sure it's not anything like where the parcel where RST development is coming in. That one had pretty much fallen into disrepair.
Yeah,
Okay, but the one off Town Center Drive, it's okay, you know. All right, the next item on, anything else on that? So,
Good question.
yeah.
I'm curious for those that were able to attend, if anything stood out to you all from the meeting or the equity profile that you were surprised by, or something that you learned from that. If not, no big deal.
Oh,
Thought I would learn from that.
I was very surprised by the equity profile. And what surprised me is seeing where Forest Lakes and Hollymead ranked in the various categories. It was lower than I thought it would be. Yeah. Yeah, I thought that profile, we're talking about the one that Siri Russell headed up with the UVA Equity Center and Data Science.
Yes.
Yeah. I thought it looked at different parameters than we usually look at. Yeah.
okay. Well, yeah, there is this impression of Forest Lakes and Hollymead as being pretty much exclusively fairly well off, at least in upper middle class, but there are apartment complexes within Forest Lakes, and the condominium complex in Hollymead, while it's defined as a condominium, is almost exclusively rental units. I think out of 100 units in there, only about 7 or 8 are owner occupied.
Yeah. And
So, and there are smaller homes in Forest Lakes, and as a matter of fact, if some of those neighborhoods would fit the classic definition of this middle density land use. So yeah, I think sometimes the impression people get of Forest Lakes is not an accurate one as far as the
right,
overall income level of the population.
yeah.
You drive through and you see the big houses by the lake and you think, oh my gosh.
What?
Yeah. And even some Even some-
Another thing that we found out on the Forest Lakes Community Association Board, a number of the big houses house multiple relatives and family members.
Hmm.
And
Oh.
so it's a lot of different
Mhm.
family and residential and housing patterns.
Yes. All right. Okay, so the last thing we're going to want to talk about is the membership and outreach. And obviously, from the fact that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 members here, we need to get more people on the committee. And if you look at the see. Oh, the webpage on the Community Advisory Committee. I'm just going to read off the Places 29 North shall have members along the following representations: large neighborhood, small neighborhood, development community, business community, school community, office, R&D, flex night, industrial, heavy industrial, urban mixed use. So, and then the last one is a bunch of, acronyms that I don't even know what they stand for, but, focus on open space, water resources, transit, etc. So, those are all resources that we could look into to maybe get a few realtors. And the other thing I was thinking of was maybe contacting the developers of Brook Hill and North Point to see if they would like to have one of their, somebody connected with them on the CAC. Because I mean, obviously, if you're developing a neighborhood like that and there's other, what you're concerned about what's going on around here.
Isn't that development Great Eastern, Chuck Rotkin,
I
North Point? I think so.
yeah, if you could
So,
send me that information, maybe I could get in touch with them.
yeah, I know Chuck. Michaela and Virginia might know him too. And I'm sure amongst his operation, he could have someone that he would.
Mhm.
And then is it River Bend? Is Brook Hill? We were very impressed with their folks. They
Mhm.
reached out, unlike RST, they reached out to Forest Lakes and Hollymead before anything was approved and asked us, to let them know of any concerns and how we could partner.
Okay,
And one young man in particular was very good. So I think Riverbend would probably
Mhm.
entertain. And aren't they a developer on something else that's happening up here in Places 29? North, I think
We
so.
need to check Sue. They
Yeah,
a lot of development in our area.
yeah, yeah.
And
for
sorry.
businesses, I'm gonna throw this out and probably we don't want this, but Wendell Wood.
I think I know who you're referring to. The one that owns all the land on 29?
You know what they say, and I didn't say what it's recorded, so I won't say it.
Yeah,
But you
understand.
keep your closer than your,
yes.
you know. And in terms of other business people, I know Rosewood Village was, I think, the first business in the complex behind the Hollymead Town Center. And I think they would be thoughtful and good representation if we are looking for business people.
Where is the actual,
Rosewood Village?
no, I know where Rosewood Village is. I'm talking about Places 29, like jurisdiction. Where does it start? Where does it end?
What, the north starts at the river, am I right?
Right.
Virginia?
Okay.
And do we go to the county line?
Yes.
No,
No?
we go significantly, we include the research park.
Okay,
Because I know that's the big thing on our agenda for next month. So, but I don't think we're much further north than that, because then you get into the non-development area.
Ah,
And I know we extend a little bit to the other side of Route 29, around the airport,
yeah.
because we've gotten, things on the hotels being built around there. Oh, okay,
Have-
Sheila.
Thank
Oh,
you.
there you go.
Yeah. Have we ever invited someone from the research park?
No, that's another idea.
Deborah Van Arsel, who is a realtor. She used to be with Montague Miller.
Mhm.
She is the manager of the research park.
Did you write that name? It's a name.
No,
Yeah, Deborah
And
Van
wait.
Arsel, and she works for the UVA Real Estate Foundation.
Mhm.
Tim Rose and that outfit.
Yeah,
I think now, especially that they are giving part of the research park for affordable housing, you realize that's one of the 3 plots of land
Hmm.
they've said they're going to give.
What about Joe?
Oh, yeah, I think, is it Melinda? Yes, the airport manager there. She'd be good.
So I,
yeah,
you all can see, just pulled this up in case it's
Mhm.
helpful. as a
yeah, great,
reference.
thanks.
If you want me to zoom in anywhere, let me know.
Yeah, Sue, would you be willing to kind of help
Sure.
me out on this recruiting thing? You
Sure.
seem to know a lot more people and stuff around here than I do.
Well, I should disclose from 99 to 2007, I worked for what is now the Central Virginia Partnership for Economic Development.
Yeah,
And
so you have
I
a lot of
worked with Deborah
contacts.
Van Arsel and actually, all the folks, and we were part of the groundbreaking for Rosewood, et cetera, et cetera.
Mhm. Great, great.
So I know the area pretty well and know Chuck Rotkin and all those folks.
She's on
Okay.
the in-group.
Yeah,
Fuck.
my wife said you're part of the in-group.
No, I'm just by,
All right.
by
Any,
coincidence. Yeah, I would be
Yeah.
happy to work and we can talk, but how many members are we supposed to have? Are we supposed to have like 12?
well, let's see, I'm gonna add them up. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Looks like 11,
Okay,
but I don't know that there's a hard and fast maximum. Is there, Michaela?
There is typically, they do use a specific number, the board appoints
Mhm.
right.
number of CAC members. I'm actually not sure where the numbers originally came from. But I did want to share, I spoke with Supervisor Lepisto Curley before the meeting, and she had offered to help with this. So if you all can connect with her to.
Yeah, Bill and I
the
can
folks.
chat with her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What happened to our other members? Our vice chair?
Uh,
Janelle.
Janelle moved away.
Oh,
Cameron
sorry.
did not really, he just had other, I guess too busy with other things. And Karen was concerned that since she works for an architect, her and her husband both are architects and work for a firm that does a lot of business with developers, and she felt that she wasn't really comfortable because of conflict of interest issues that could come up of being on the committee. Now, I don't know if I would really love to have her on the committee because she has a lot of expertise, but I feel like that's the way she feels. If she's not comfortable, then I don't really want to push it,
Right.
Although I know on other CACs, there definitely are people that
Right.
work for developers and builders. But I guess it's a personal thing, whatever you're comfortable with personally.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think we got a long way to go before we have to worry about not including someone on the committee because we have too many members.
So
Anyway.
we're all here. We just have 5, right?
We're
all
just have
here?
5. Yeah,
Okay.
we're all here. So I guess we can close the meeting at 7:21. The next meeting will be scheduled for, and hopefully we actually have it. We didn't have a good fall as far as meeting is concerned, but it'll be February 10th, 6:30. And I think the primary thing on the agenda is going to be the research park application. Is that right, Michaela?
Yes, that's what we have scheduled on the agenda is the UVA North Fork Discovery Park. They submitted a rezoning application that it sounds like, Sue, you were familiar with that includes, it's a mixed use development, and I'll send out in an email the location and details, but there's a lot of surrounding property owners. I think around 180 letters are going out shortly. So you all can expect some guests attending with questions and comments, and I'll send an update over email, but wanted you all to be aware that the next meeting will be probably well attended if I.
Okay, well, maybe we can do some recruiting then.
Yeah. So
Okay.
the process, we'll talk about the process, like they have to be appointed by the Board of Supervisors, right? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. So would it be helpful, Bill and Sue, if I send you all a link to the application? Okay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Bill, you
Okay.
and I and B will get together.
Great, thank you. So we can adjourn the meeting. I don't need a vote on that, do I, Michaela? No. Okay, so unless anybody, you have something else, Tony?
No, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Thank you, Johnson.
What?
Nothing.
Okay, well, thank everybody for coming. I appreciate it. Thank you, Corey,
you.
Virginia, Sue, Tony, Bill, Michaela. Thanks for keeping up with this,
Yep. Then
Have
I've
a good
got
night.
putting in the extra
notes.
time. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
good night,